Greetings, vloggers, bloggers, followers, and potters. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty with another edition of this week's vlog. It has been a week, but we are processing through things. We are making changes. There has been so many changes in the month of May alone, and even we look back into the past 8 months, we've made so many changes and progressed so much since my relapse last year, and we're still kicking strong. We're still going on, and it's just been it's things are still moving along, and we're still making progress, and we're still things are changing, and they're going to be changing, in the coming weeks, and there are big changes and things that we've never ever experienced before. I'm it's no secret if you haven't known me. I am leaving my day service program of 20 years, almost 20 years in a couple of weeks. And that alone is a big change. And then there's other changes, but that is one of the biggest. And, sometimes it can be hard when you carry baggage in the form of different thoughts, scripts, what have you, that it can be hard to even if they are now invalid or they're not true, to learn how to let them go and not let them consume my mind so much, because even though they do consume my mind, and quite often when I'm not focused on something that needs to be done, is something that's healthy, when there's idle time and there's time to when the mind is brewing, it is hard to let go of these feelings and these frustrations that I'm experiencing about things that, they're not valid now. Even if they were, 6 months ago, they're not valid now. And in fact, those thoughts that were maybe you were thinking, and maybe they are true, but they're not valid now, because things indeed worked out for themselves in the situation that was handed to you, that is much better for you. And as a fact, from personally, it is the reason, or I would say the catalyst behind the reason why I can move on with my life. But sometimes we hold grudges and we hold resentment towards things that, we've always had, or they've always brewed within us for years, or things that, we don't there's a reality sometimes that there's not a lot of inventory in our brains to think about, other than what this damage, or what this perceived damage has done to your brain. And the thoughts that brew there, they're not really valid, but they're basically all that comes up in your mind, I think. And it's not even that, even at nearly 7 o'clock on a Saturday evening as I'm recording this, that they matter. And I know they don't matter, but they come and go from time to time. That's part of the looping and ruminating stages of, you let these thoughts brew and I'm finally, I think about myself, as I'm nearing the fourth decade of my life, and I'm going to be 40 soon in a year. I think, there was a time when I would have lashed out on people, or taken my aggression out in a physical manner, or even, well, then of course verbally, but I think taking it out I would have physically, or been worse. And it shows that the progress that I personally have made as a human being, that I can know how to retain that feeling. But there's no real way, even though it's invalid, and it brings me these feelings of anger and frustration, if you will. It can be hard to, express that feeling, or express or channel that frustration in a healthier way than what can be helpful for me, than maybe lashing it out on a close confidant, such as a family member or something. And sometimes we feel things even as we're processing those scripts or those emotions. And sometimes when we're processing them in front of our loved ones or our trusted ones, and they come across as very hurtful things, they can hurt the person. And even though you may not be thinking that it could hurt the person, I am better now at sensing that it hurts the person. And as such, when it hurts the person, there is a sense of remorse, but sometimes you have to let it cool off for a minute and not let that, not, you have to break away from what that other party is experiencing and have time to, not rebrew the thoughts so much, but so much that you just, you process those emotions and what you're feeling, and you realize, maybe what you did was maybe what you said wasn't appropriate, but maybe it is finding a better way of expressing how you're feeling in a more dignified and a politically, I don't even want to say politically correct, but more appropriate manner that doesn't come across in aggressive or verbally aggressive or hurtful words, but rather, communicating more on a adult-like level. And I don't like to say that, but because I don't like to put age into it, but I am indeed an adult, and to anybody else in the world that I would not, that I would understand personally, that is not, I would understand that there is an expectation with people out in the public world that I would not act in a manner that could have consequences or reactions that I would not particularly care for, or would be very consequential and could be very damaging to me. There is an understanding of respect and in those situations. So why can't that respect carry over into the people that we trust? And I think I'm more realizing that is as time progresses. And I personally know that I need to work on that as a human being, and not let the frustration and the anger and the attention grabbers, those thoughts of, where people will feel sorry for ourselves, or that we bring this negative, manipulative attention on ourselves because we want others to feel sorry for us or pitiful for us. And, even though what we're feeling may very well just be what we're hearing, or that in reality, we have, as individuals who are experiencing this frustration, we ourselves have to work to better manage what we're experiencing in a healthier format. And even if we do choose to communicate to the other party that we feel safe communicating about our frustrations to, it cannot come across in such a way that it is harmful or maybe manipulative or may make the person feel angry or frustrated, because many times there's people that you have this trusting bond with. They only want to help you. They don't want to hurt you. They want to see you succeed often. They want to see you live your best life. And by you taking out your frustrations on them because you feel that it's like a valid way, and that even if I'm feeling that way, then they should feel the feeling that I'm feeling in the same way that I'm feeling. That's not, and when I'm sensing that they're feeling frustrated because I'm frustrated, it kind of sends a bad vibe around. Makes it very difficult for things to get done. The business at hand, what I am feeling, to get taken care of. And, that can be very difficult. Now, granted, some people that we are close to, or we have this trusting bond or this familiar bond because of past dynamics or what have you, it may not always be the healthiest way to do it. and being able to communicate may not always get in the healthy manner, may not always get the answer that you want. And it's important to have other people. And I do recognize that. And that is something too I need to work on. But and there are people who can do that. Professionals and therapists, and they're great people, but you're not always going to have those people, those professionals, or those supports to rely on. Now, granted, there are warm lines and peer supports like through organizations such as NAMI that can help. But if you're needing that immediate, it's always hard as people who want an immediate fix to a problem. And you can't always get an immediate fix to a problem. So there is a reality that it comes back on us as individuals when we're feeling these frustrations to be able to cope in ways that we can feel like we are getting our frustration or what we're feeling out in a healthy and safe manner. And it's something that I know deep down that I need to work on personally and take more on a personal level and work on it better than what I'm doing now, because what I have been doing for nearly 4 decades, and even though there was a lot of worse things that happened decades before, it's just not this way of communicating in a very, very manipulative and attacking manner just isn't going to help. And even though these feelings that I'm feeling are very much invalid, you're always going to have feelings, and they're going to trigger those past feelings, even if you've had traumatic situations to things. Even though things come up, you're going to have to learn. I know I am, at least. I'm going to have to learn how to better manage what I'm experiencing and be able to cope and express my frustrations in a much more healthier way. Now, there are ways, and I am working on them. I wish there were better ways, and I hope to do that, in the future. It's going to take time. Things don't happen overnight, and I think a lot of times when we are in our burrows of frustration, and when we're dealing with challenges, and there have been many challenges that I've experienced, and even though these are changes coming up and there's things that are happening, it's not as worse as it has ever been. They're big changes, but I'm embracing them, I'm loving them. But even though I'm experiencing these thoughts and these looping repetitive thoughts, and even though they're not true, it's not that big of a thing to me. And I know I say it's not that big, but now that I'm realizing it more and more that those thoughts are invalid, and eventually they're not even going to matter, I need to let that go and I need to move on from that. But there needs to be an understanding for myself that I need to do more on my part to keep myself, engaged with healthier thoughts and let go of the stuff that is so negative and it's dirty laundry and it's not even true. And it really bites you sometimes in the foot, and it can be so challenging. But there's also a reality that I must do what I need to do to be able to live my life and not be so negative, not only towards myself and not only feeling negative and down and out about myself, but I need to be respectful to others, including those that care for me and help me do things, and they're there for me and support me along my journey. And continuing to show this disdain and this frustration and being manipulative is not helping, and it's making things continue to not ever come out of that sense of negativity. And when people say you have so much going for you, you're always negative, but you need to realize what you're grateful for. That sometimes can open your eyes too. And sometimes it is, when that is a good coping skill, trying to be thankful for what you do have and how far have I come. And there's a lot I could say about how far I've come. And I think, I opened up a little bit. If you look in my website, give the address at the end, about that today's blog post about how things were hard in the beginning. And, you know, when we have these tough moments that we think are like the end of the world and they're the worst thing that could happen, even though there has been way worse decades before, that has happened, and we're evolving as time goes on. But we think that what I'm experiencing today, on this May evening, can be the worst possible thing, and there's nothing worse than that. In reality, that's not true. In reality, what I'm thinking about isn't true. There's so much good in the world that I'm experiencing, and it's often hard to see it. But I think being able to see it more and realize there's so much to be grateful for will open my eyes more and help me, along with working with things that are more helpful and healthier for me and coping in ways that are much better for me, will open my eyes more and realize that I need to let those negative thoughts go and work on and move on from them, because really they're not going to exist and they're not really helpful and they're really invalid. And keep rolling on them every single weekend or every single time they make me angry. They're not doing any good. They're not healthy. And it is letting go and moving on from that, and growing up. People say, well, grow up, but I think part of that is real. You have to mature. And even though I have matured greatly, and it has been a long ride, people, but we're getting there and we need to go more. So with that being said, I think I'm going to jump off of here. I have some things to do tonight, and I want to get this done in a decent hour tonight so it can go out on my e-blast and everything. So if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm appreciating the continual support of new subscribers on my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Pinterest. That handle is Dustin's Dynasty. I'm on the web. That website address is www.dustinsdynastyusa.com. And finally, if you want all my links, and including all the podcasts, you can go to my link tree. That handle is Dustin's Dynasty. Again, I want to thank you for listening. I appreciate you listening. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. We'll talk at you soon. Have a good weekend. Bye for now.